Jay Bear, welcome to the Eagles Talent Video Chat. Thank you very much for joining us today, this early morning, right?
I am delighted to be here. I can't say that I'm the very best at this time of day, but I will be best for you, Sheldon. I will kill it.
Thank you. Hey, I read your newest book, Utility.
Hey, I got one of those too. Check it out.
Hey, it's a great book. Just like your speaking presentations. In this, I mean, tons of content there. If you need content, you're the man. I mean, really, it's there's a lot of great stuff that we're definitely going to dive into. But first, I'm curious, just like as an overview, how has marketing changed in the past few years?
I've been in marketing for 25 years now, and I've seen it change firsthand. I mean, I had a typewriter in college, so
Same here.
I literally, right? So I mean, I've seen a lot of changes, and marketing has just gotten a lot more difficult. I mean, I remember the day, when media buyer was like the easiest job in marketing because you had two TV stations in your town, a handful of radio stations, and a morning newspaper and an afternoon newspaper, pretty much.
Right.
And you'd buy some ads with those guys, and then you go play golf, right? It was like the best gig ever. And now media buyer's the hardest job because everything is media, everything is advertisable.
Right.
Consumers have so much more power in terms of how they ignore or can ignore messages, whether it's TiVo or just deleting ads, things like that. So marketing is much, much, much more about relevancy today than it ever has been before, which is why I wrote the book and really urge people to focus on marketing that is useful more so than promotional.
So one of the types of marketing you talk about is top of the mind awareness. What is that?
Well, so top of mind awareness is sort of what we've been trained to do as marketers for generations, right? Which is that you have to have a sustained level of memorability in the marketplace, and you do that by having a consistent level of advertising and marketing so that when the customer says, you know what I need? I need some socks. They think, oh, these guys, they're the sock guys because you've been sort of talking at them routinely over a long period of time. And that, is still the playbook for a lot of companies, but it's extraordinarily difficult now because the media landscape is fractured so much. You can't get on everybody's radar the same way they used to. So it's possible, but it's much harder than it used to be.
So how important are blogs today, and are they having the same impact?
Well, it's a different impact, right?
Okay.
You're not going to reach the same number of people with the same degree of rapidity with a blog than you would with a television commercial. And anybody who tells you that doesn't really understand how this works. But some people will tell you that.
Right.
And that's your clue that you should not have them speak to your audience. Blogs can be extraordinarily impactful, but they play a different role. So you're typically, not always, but typically you're not going to become aware of a company or a brand via the blog. What the blog does, in theory, is translate that awareness into action. It drives you deeper into the consideration, the purchase funnel, because what the blog should do, what the best blogs do, is they answer a lot of the questions that potential customers have. Well, what are these guys? What do they sell? Are they trustworthy? What does it cost? What happens if I don't like it? All the questions that we used to have to do on the phone, now you can possibly do with a blog. And that takes somebody from awareness to, you know what, I'm ready to buy from you.
So we've all been through a breakup before, right? One time in our life. How hard
My
is
daughter
it to...
broke up with their very first boyfriend.
Oh, no!
It was really weird. Yeah, they'd seen each other, like, how it is these days. They only texted. They'd seen each other twice, and it was a big breakup. I said, "Do you have did you actually call him to break up?" "Oh no, I just texted him." I'm like, society is doomed.
Well, last year, my son, him and his girlfriend of 2 days, I think, they broke up. And I said, "Did you ever talk to her?" "No." "Well, how was she ever your girlfriend?" He said, "We just knew."
Those 2 days really got me right here. Those 2 days.
They probably have the best relationship.
Oh.
So, but let's talk about how hard is it to go through a social breakup?
Well, the social breakup it is almost easier than the stories that we tell about our kids. Because today, in social media, if a customer, a prospective customer, a fan, a friend, a follower decides that they don't want to interact with you anymore, your company, They just don't. They don't even have to take any action. In Facebook in particular, and Twitter as well to some degree, you don't even have to necessarily unfollow or unfriend. If you just stop interacting with the content they publish, you'll stop seeing it. You can just sort of pocket veto those companies, and you just sort of ignore them, and they fade away because they no longer show up in your news feed. So there's a lot of attention paid in social media to getting more of those, more connections, more followers, more fans, more friends, and all that. And I think we all know that. And yeah, I understand that, but it's really much more about, can you keep those people engaged? And Sheldon, email works the same way, right? So if you think about email, yeah, you want to have a bigger email list than a smaller email list, in theory, but only if the people who are on your list actually read those emails. Otherwise, you're just sending emails to people who are deleting them, right? So we tend to put too much emphasis, just in business overall, on aggregation, give me a bigger audience, and we don't put enough emphasis on behavior. How do we continue to engage with those people over the long haul?
So it sounds like there's still a strand of quality over quantity.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I would much rather have 10 people who love me and will interact with me and will behave in a way that I need them to behave than 100 people who are like, meh.
So earlier you mentioned something about trust. How important for consumers is the trust factor with companies still?
Enormous, and more so than ever. I mean, trust is the prism through which all business success must pass. And now that customers have access to manifestly more information they ever have in the past, right? I mean, I'm holding most of the world's information in my hand, right? And so are you. And this year is a really important year. I talk about this a lot. This is a really important year because 2013 is the year that we kind of crossed the chasm in that regard. Smartphone penetration in the US, it will be 57% this year. The first time it's gone over half. So what that means is that the majority of your customers, and in some cases the overwhelming majority of your customers, have access to everything at all times. And when you have access to everything, you have the ability to look stuff up. And people do, right? So it's not just about price anymore. Are you cheaper than the other guy, or are you more convenient? The consumers are now saying, well, do I actually trust that company? Do I support them? I mean, look, I'm an old guy. Like, when I was younger, we didn't go into the store thinking, hey, does this cereal brand support sustainable farming? I just wanted to know how many marshmallows were in the bowl, right?
You better have more marshmallows than the
right. There's all these other facets that we use now to make purchases that we never did before. It's not that we didn't care about the environment or labor conditions or other things in the past. It's that we didn't have the information to figure it out one way or the other. So it's like, well, I don't know. And now we do know. And so you have to have trust on your side. And one of the ways to do that, and certainly one of the things that I talk about a lot in the book, is that if you're going to build trust, you have to put a ton of information out there. Most companies are under-communicating a lot.
In the book, you talk about frame of mind marketing, and it's interesting because apparently this strategy started in the 1880s. Is it as powerful as it used to be?
Yes and no. When we talk about frame of mind awareness, what we mean is that it is sort of a findability strategy. So it really started in the 1880s with the Yellow Pages. So the Yellow Pages is, hey, I need socks. And instead of me just knowing that you sell socks, which we talked about before, I go somewhere to find sock purveyors. And I look up socks in the Yellow Pages. I don't think that's actually an official Yellow Pages category, but work with me.
Work with him up there. It's early.
He's on a roll. Stay with him. And then that has evolved over time, of course, to what we have now, which is really a search engine dominated sort of frame of mind awareness game. So today, if you need socks, you would probably go to Google and type in socks and see what happens. And so the idea is that, well, if you can be found in those circumstances, then you have succeeded as a marketer. And that's true in many ways. But what people don't understand is that as important as search marketing is, and it's hugely important. I've done a lot of search marketing in my career. Big fan, don't get me wrong. But Sheldon, you never do this. I guarantee you never do this. You never go to Google and say, I'd like to buy something. I don't really care what. Just
Show me
surprise me,
anything.
right? Just whatever you want, whatever you think. So by the time we go to search for something, we're already half sold, right? We already know what we want, or at least vaguely. So all Google is doing is connecting you to people who are already interested. So, and that's great. But if you only emphasize search, and there are smart marketers all the time, Sheldon, who say to me, well, if I'm good at Google, I'm good at marketing. And I say, well, if you're good at Google, you're good at half of marketing. Because search does not create demand for your services.
Right.
It just fulfills demand that already exists. So you have to do some other things in addition to search.
So in social media, our personal and commercial relationships have merged. Is that a good thing, or it's already happening? Right. I mean, it
is a thing. I mean, if you look at your Facebook feed, or your Twitter feed, or your email inbox, especially, really, or your Pinterest or your Instagram or any of that,
right.
What you'll find is a combination of commercial and personal relationships. So if you look at Facebook, it'll be, here's something from a friend, here's something from a company, here's something from your wife, here's something from a company, here's something from a friend, here's something from some kid in high school you didn't really like then.
Yeah.
It's all mixed in there together. And that doesn't really happen the opposite way, right? So my friends are not buying radio time,
right.
To make sure that I know there's a football game tonight. And my wife is not buying magazine ads,
right.
To make sure that I know that we got a hummingbird caught in our garage last night, which
right.
we did. So that's really challenging for business, right? Because now all of a sudden we have to use, as business people, as marketers, the same technologies, the same venues that we're trying to use to interact with each other on a very personal basis. We have to use those same things to try and make money, and that's tough. It's really, really tough, and that's why I believe the secret to success in that kind of hyper-competitive environment is to be useful, is to not shout louder, but to actually be more useful.
Do you think that as companies we try to spend too much time trying to be amazing in our marketing?
Oh, not only as companies, but that is sort of one of the reasons I wrote this book is as a reaction to there is a group of consultants out there, authors, speakers, who will tell you on stage that the secret to business success is to just be amazing. To just be an amazing company, and great things will happen. And I suppose that's true, and it's very seductive advice, but I don't think it's very good advice, because the chances are you're not amazing,
right.
And becoming amazing isn't about wanting to be amazing. There's a lot more to it than that.
Right.
And if one more consultant, one more speaker, one more author uses as an example Southwest, Apple, or Zappos, I'm going to smack them in the head, right? Look, there's 3 amazing companies in the whole country, and you got to be one of those. Thank you for the very hard-hitting, penetrating advice, right? I mean, come on. So it's just such a Hail Mary strategy, right? So I am much more of a believer in being useful, because I know that works and everybody can do it.
Well, it sounds like, when you mention those companies, Apple and Southwest, would like to be those companies? Heck yeah. Of course you want to, but it's probably a little unrealistic, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, because the way that message is communicated so often, it's like, well, as long as you want to be amazing, you will be amazing. Right. Well, I think we're skipping some steps here a little bit. Yeah.